Welcome to the Adoption and Foster Care Journey, a podcast to encourage, educate, and equip you to care for children and youth through adoption, foster, and kinship care. Hosted by an adoptive mom with over 22 years of kinship and adoptive parenting experience. She's on this journey with you. Please welcome Sandra Flach.
Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. That is Isaiah 43, verse 19. And I'm your host, Sandra Flach. Welcome to the Adoption and Foster Care Journey, where, as always, it is my honor to encourage and equip you for your parenting journey. I, too, am an adopted mom for, it's been over 26 years as an adoptive mom. And my husband and I have raised 5 children, 1 through a kinship adoption and 4 through international adoption. And our youngest 2 are still home. They both are diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. So I'm in the trenches with you. And really hope that this podcast will be an invaluable resource for you for your parenting journey. So please be sure to like and follow our new the Adoption and Foster Care Journey social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. We've created a new space. Some folks are a little bit confused sometimes about the whole, what does Justice for Orphans have to do with any of this? And that is because JFO is our nonprofit, sort of like the umbrella organization over all of the adoption and foster care resources that we offer. I founded the organization, so we've been posting everything for many years under the Justice for Orphans socials, but we also do other things like Care Portal. So we really want to be able to have all of our adoptive and foster parent resources in an obvious, easy to find location. So the name of the podcast, The Adoption and Foster Care Journey, and our socials. So if you want to find things where I'll be posting and you can interact with me there and stay specific to this page and resource, that's where you'll go. On Instagram, it is at AFC_journey. And on Facebook, it is just the Adoption and Foster Care Journey. So I look forward to connecting with you there. So I hope you'll go on over and like and follow those pages. And now it is June already, and last week we had a dad episode, and I always like to give dads a little extra attention during the month of June because we have Father's Day. But I'm going to take a little break from that because I have been hearing from some of you listeners who do faithfully reach out. If you email me, I receive those emails and I read each one and I respond. And I know some of you have reached out about, the struggle of summer. School is out, our kids are home, schedules change, and it can be hard, right? It's, I've always valued like the lazy, hazy days of summer, right? And as a homeschooling mom, I was thrilled to be done with that more structured, rigid routine and be able to just kind of have a break from all of those responsibilities as a homeschooling mom. But what might be a big relief and freedom to us can actually be harder on our kids, right? And then they're home. So now we can become, how are we going to survive summer, right? And how are we going to make it until September or August, depending on what part of the country that you live in? I know where I live in the Northeast, our kids start school in September and go all the way through to towards the end of June. So school here is just about to get out. But I know for some of you, you've already had kids home, for a few weeks. So a little bit of a different, depending on where our schedules are. But what I want to share today will benefit all of us, I believe. We're in different places, right? Our parenting journeys, while we are all adoptive or foster parents or kinship caregivers, we've got a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. Our kids are different. maybe some of our kids like mine have FASD or some other brain difference. They've all got some level of trauma. They're all different ages and in different stages. And, some of us have bio kids mixed in with our adopted kids or foster kids. And, maybe we are caring for a relative's child. And some of us may work outside the home, or we're home with our kids all day, or we are homeschooling, or whatever the case, right? The summer just brings about new routines, new schedules. I think, things are different. And sometimes when things change, our kids can have a really hard time with that. So that's what we're going to talk about, because transitions, whether it's trauma or prenatal exposure, changes and transitions can be really hard for our kids, and in turn become really hard for us. Our kids thrive in structured, predictable environments. They need lots of repetition. Their sensitive nervous systems need predictability to feel safe. They need that sense of felt safety. And then all of a sudden, when things change and the day to day is different, that can be very, very unsettling. They don't feel safe, even when we know they're safe, and their behavior, it's reflected in their behavior, which is a way that they communicate when they maybe can't say, hey, I'm not feeling so good about this, right? Um, the school year provides structure, whether we homeschool or whether our kids are in school. There's just this structure that comes with the school day starts at a certain time. You go at a certain time, you get up in the morning at a certain time, right? There's a very predictable schedule with going to school. And homeschooling can be laid back or very, very structured. I know families that homeschool throughout the year. They don't really take the whole summer off. I just never could get my mind wrapped around that. I needed that break myself. But I've been a combination of homeschool and public school special education for the past several years. If you've followed this podcast, if you know me, you know a little bit of our story. Our youngest, we were homeschooling family forever. And then our youngest two boys went into school at one point, because they just really needed more of the special education programming and even more structure than I was able to develop or be disciplined to have at home. And that was going okay until COVID. And then the two boys were home. And then one of them did not do well with that. So to avoid a mental health crisis, we ended up homeschooling him for the rest of the time. But because he's now 19, the past couple of years, 2, 3 years, we've been able to, and I always like to say this will vary by state and even within a state by school district. And the Lord just really worked it out that we were able to, even though I was homeschooling, my son could go into the public school for a couple hours each day to be with a special ed class to practice social skills and life skills and start to learn some job skills and that kind of thing. And so we've done it different ways. I refer to it as a hybrid model, but he's been going in this school year. We're considering it his last school year. So he goes in 3 days a week for just under 2 hours each time. But we're going to consider him graduated this year, because he's just really struggled with being in that environment at school. And now he has a part-time job. So that's kind of built in some more structure for us, and he's learning skills. So we're going to officially graduate. And if you're looking the video, I'm doing the little air quotes, um, graduate him from that, because he'll be 20 in October, and we're ready to move on to some other things. So, but I've done it lots of different ways over the years, and I can't sit here and say I have all of the answers and that I'm a pro, about structure, because I'm not. I struggle with that. I think a lot of us can struggle with that. And our kids and our situations are so different. There is no one way solution to survive summer, um, that's going to work for everybody. But I can share some things that I believe might work. And go ahead, try some of these things. If you're struggling already with summer, or even the thought of that schedule and the kids being home and the lack of structure, and knowing how hard it can be, um, you know, here's some food for thought, so to speak. Keep what works for you, disregard what doesn't work for you. It's kind of like that throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks kind of idea, because our kids are all so different. Even if they all are adopted and all have FASD, they're still all very different. There's so many variables. So what's going to work for one child and one family isn't going to work with every child in every family. And even within your family, if you have three kids, what you may try to do isn't going to work for all three of them, right? So it's very variable, and I would say to figure out what each kiddo needs, and it's exhausting, I know, but meet each individual kiddo's needs as best as you can, for some peace and sanity, because that will help when we're accommodating the individual, and their needs are getting met, and they're feeling safe, then things can go much better overall. So, yes, I've explained my current situation a little bit and what we're doing. And then, but, seasons change, because even now, as we're winding down the school year, and we're graduating my son, it's another new season. So not only is it the end of a school year, we're not going to pick up in September with a new school year, right? So he's got a job. My youngest has a job. He works 2 nights a week, and his employer is interested in having him this summer start a third night, which we're not sure if he'll be able to do. We'll give it a shot. We are in the process of hiring a support person, because his services that he qualifies for as an individual with a developmental disability, intellectual disability, allows for us to do that. But it's easier said than done, actually hiring and like finding a person to hire. So we're working on that. So even having that up in the air is a little bit unsettling to him. And then I'm looking for some regular programs and activities for him to do, to build structure into his days, not just for the summer, but beyond that, because we need that. But right now, he's not even interested in doing anything else. He just wants to be done with school, right? And I'm sure a lot of our kids are feeling that way. So, either way, my kiddo has to learn a new routine, a new schedule, new skills. And the not knowing exactly what to expect has him under stress. And he tends to be short and snappy when under stress, a little, argumentative, easily annoyed. He can be uncooperative, does not like being told what to do, common with our kiddos. And I resorted by the end of the school year, as things have been, like, I've sensed him a little bit more difficult. And I believe it's because of this change that he is looming, and he knows it's looming. Um, I've had to, while he can brush his teeth and eat his breakfast and get dressed and wash his face and do his things without assistance, he doesn't. So there's a lot of reminders that need to take place, but yet he doesn't like being told what to do. So then it seems like there's a little bit of arguing going on. Just the other day, I said, okay, the last thing you need to do before we leave, you didn't brush your teeth yet. You have to brush your teeth. And he said, I don't like to do that. Yeah. Like, well, we're not leaving for school until you have. And he was like, okay, so I'm not gonna. I'm like, okay. But I also know he doesn't like to be late for anything. That stresses him out. So after a few minutes, I heard him tell the dog, I have to go brush my teeth now. So he just needed a little extra time and came to that conclusion on his own. So, yeah, very, very interesting. But again, he's a little older, diagnosed with FAS. 19 and a half, more like 10 developmentally in a lot of ways. And 10-year-old boys typically don't care about hygiene or going to work or worrying about the future, right? So I have to remind myself that that's really where we're at right now. And at some point in life, he will probably be a little bit more interested in those things, I hope. But it can be hard to navigate, um, especially because other people may see him. And so expectations are set about what people think. And sometimes I forget to remind myself, like, okay, we have to focus on where we're at developmentally, what age we are developmentally, and um, understand his unique symptoms and keep that perspective when setting expectations for whether it's the summer or beyond. So I'm going to share some ways that I have built structure, or at least attempted to build structure over my 36 years of parenting my oldest biological kiddo. He's not really a kiddo. He's a 36-year-old man with 5 children of his own. Um, but over those years, especially the 26 years of being an adoptive parent, I have some thoughts that may help you survive summer, and I'm going to share them with you right after this.
Sandra Flach, host of the Adoption and Foster Care Journey podcast, and FASD educator Debbie Raymond, invite you to join Hope for the FASD Journey, a virtual support community for parents and caregivers raising individuals with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, diagnosed or not. This faith-based support community meets online 3 times each month, features special VIP guests, and a private Facebook group for members only, which includes Soul Care Saturday video devotionals led by Sandra and Deb. Both Sandra and Deb are adoptive moms raising kids with FASD and facilitators of the Facets Neurobehavioral Model. For details and to register, visit justicefororphansny.org/hope-community. That's justicefororphansny.org/hope-community.
Okay, so kids are home for the summer. How do we build some structure into our days? So one thing that I believe has been very helpful is to stick to a set bedtime routine, a time for going to bed, and a set morning routine. So yes, it's summer, but our kids need to know what to expect. So try to maintain a bedtime most nights, right? We know it's summertime. We may be going, out and doing activities later at night. Since there's no need to get up so early in the morning, we're not so worried about sticking to an earlier bedtime. But if you can, a majority of the time, stick to a bedtime time and routine. Keep the routine. So that's predictable and our kids know. Same thing with the morning. Stick to a morning routine. Even if they don't all get up at 7 a.m. anymore or 6 a.m. anymore and everybody's kind of sleeping in and it's more like 9, still follow the routine, right? Starting with breakfast, the chores, playing a game, doing some reading, whatever works for your family. I'm not telling you what to put on your morning routine, but those are the typical things, right? So I know, my kiddo, the other day he got up, ate a little breakfast and plopped down on the couch and wanted to watch some TV. And I said, well, first, if you want to have TV time, this chore needs to be done and your teeth need to be brushed. Like, we have to follow this routine. So trying to stick to it, even if we're not rigid about it, like we may be more tend to be more rigid during the school year and it's summertime and we want to be a little bit lax, still having a routine to follow will help them to stay on track. It's more predictable and they're more apt to follow those things. They may need some guidance. Like I said, mine does not stick to the routine without some one-on-one support. Your kids may be able to follow it without one-on-one support, but try to maintain a routine so that the kids know what to expect. Same thing with mealtime. Even if you're getting up later in the morning, still do breakfast. lunch is at the same time. So if it's breakfast time and then a little bit after that, there's a snack, then there's lunch, then a snack, then dinner, then an evening snack, or however you do it, having those predictable meal times will be helpful for our kids to feel secure and know what to expect when it comes to meals. Very important for a lot of our kids. Limit screen time, big time. This is a huge one. We've all read the articles or heard the reports how detrimental screen time is for all kids, but especially for kids who've experienced trauma, especially for kids who've been prenatally exposed. Screen time just exacerbates the symptoms of trauma and prenatal exposure. So, all of those things that are already really hard for our kids, memory and focus and self-regulation, and language and things like that, those things are deteriorate when they're on screens for a long time. So being able to limit screen time, I believe, all year through, but especially in the summertime when, again, they're not at school, they're not filling their days with structured activities. It is a lot of free time. You do not want to fill free time with screen time. So make them earn it. I know one of the things towards the end of the school year, my kiddo was giving me a hard time about doing any school for the homeschooling pieces that we were doing. And he doesn't, he's got he's 19, he has a Gab phone, which is a cell phone with major restrictions. He cannot go on the internet. It's pre-approved apps. There's no YouTube, things like that. So he wants to watch YouTube videos. My guy likes to learn about things by watching YouTube videos. So if he wants to do that, there's a set time for it, and he'll use my phone. For example, if I'm in the kitchen making dinner, he can sit at the counter and use my phone to watch a YouTube video while I'm standing right there in the kitchen with him. So, but if he refused or didn't do his math during the day, I'll say, well, when he comes to me asking to use the phone, give me a math lesson. You need to do a math lesson to earn the 30 minutes on my cell phone. So things like that, right? You have to read a book, or you have to spend 30 minutes looking at books, or you have to spend 30 minutes outside, or whatever it is that you have built into the schedule that you want your kiddo doing, those productive, healthy things that are good for them to spend time doing. They have to do something like that in order to earn some screen time, but the screen time would be limited. You get 30 minutes and then you have to go back outside and do something else. So having them earn it will help decrease the time that they're on it and then be more productive in between those times. Post the summer schedule. Figure it out, sit down with your kids either before school is out, or maybe that's one of the first activities you do once school is out. Depending on their age and their ability, if you can sit down and work together as a family, coming up with a new schedule, when we're going to have breakfast, what are we going to do, what chores, how much time are we going to spend this, when we're going to go outside, those kinds of things. Come up with a schedule and post it on the fridge. Write it on a whiteboard in the kitchen or the hallway or wherever. Print it and laminate it and give each of your kids, age appropriate, of course, a copy so that they can hang it in their room or use a whiteboard marker to cross it off of a laminated page. Whatever works best for your kids, for your family, based again on their age and reading level and ability. Come up with that schedule, review it, and practice it together. Don't just hand them a schedule or post a schedule. Here it is. This is what we're going to do. Start following it. We need to practice it. And we, as the parent, as the caregiver, have to be participating along with our kids. And that's one of the things, the years of homeschooling that I used to do. It would be like, okay, we're all going to get up and have breakfast. We're having breakfast together. Okay, now we're all going to do chores together. And everybody had their set chores, but everybody, including mom or dad, whoever's home, is doing chores also. So it's not like I'm sitting on my phone and scrolling while they're supposed to be doing their chores, right? We're all doing chores together. We're all going outside together. We're all doing things together as much as possible. Even if we all go out to the pool together and I'm in the shade reading a book or working on some paperwork, there in the pool, but we're all out there together. So do as much together as possible and stick to the schedule as a family and practice it. Again, we as parents and caregivers, we need to have a schedule too. So create one for ourselves. And I find I get better buy-in from my kids when we're all following a schedule together. We don't have to be rigid about it, right? Let's all just do our best. I mean, gosh, in my earlier homeschooling days, I cannot remember the curriculum, but I literally had a curriculum that I used for a couple of years until I was like, this is a little bit too crazy, where every 30 minutes of the day, even for myself, was structured as to what we were going to do. And that was really through the school year, but it was a little bit too much, right? So especially during the summertime when we tend to be a little bit lax, that can be okay. But what if you don't have a plan, right? I think about that scripture verse. What is it? Without a vision, the people perish. A little bit like out of context, of course, but having a plan, having a structure, having a schedule to at least try to stick to can help us be more on track than not on track so that we don't have the chaos that summer can bring where everybody's just sort of dysregulated and fighting and things are falling apart and we're ready to throw in the towel, right? We don't want to have that. So we want to work on the schedule together. Life happens though, right? It's summer. There's a lot of different activities that can occur, but do your best to stick to the schedule. And when you fall off of the schedule, and we all will, we all do, get back on it, right? And then extend yourself a little grace and the kiddos too, but get right back on the schedule every time that you find that, okay, where things are falling apart and we need to focus on a schedule again. When it comes to activities, right? Summer is filled with things like VBS, summer sports, whatnot, those kinds of things. Remember, our kids have experienced adversity and they might not do so well unless they have some support. Again, every kid is different, so you have to take into consideration your kid, your family dynamics. My boys did not fit in well with neurotypical peers. So for things like children's church, youth group, VBS, any place where kids were grouped by age was difficult because they didn't really fit. Like if they were having to read something, my kiddos had a much younger, lower grade level reading level, right? So they didn't, and even socially, a lot of times they were younger developmentally than their peers were. So it made them, it made those things more obvious. So they were more embarrassed and uncomfortable, and they didn't necessarily like those kinds of activities. They were not a good fit, at least if they had to be grouped by age. So take that into consideration, right? And don't force kids to do things where it's just not a good fit. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. Skip it. Um, Allow those kiddos that it is a good fit for to attend. But if you have a kiddo it's not a good fit for, they're not happy, and there's a lot of pushback, it might be better for them to do something else entirely. So keep that in mind. And it's not a one size fits all with our kids. So we have to, and it's exhausting for the parent. I'm not going to say that it's not, but sometimes when we're trying to force one size fits all, it can actually be harder and worse. And it can be more exhausting than if we actually did tailor make it to meet the needs of our kids, especially our kids that have more special needs. So lots of outside time outside, physical activities, nature, fun together with us as parents and caregivers, focusing on good nutrition and hydration, good sleep. All of these things are good for our kids, good for us too. And when we're having fun together, then that's building connection. And kids are learning to trust us and have fun with us. And fun together, fun really does disarm fear and build trust and is good all the way around. So those are things that are definites, right? Make sure you're doing things outside, you're getting exercise and having fun together, with paying attention to good nutrition and hydration and good sleep, good for all of us. Again, we're going to limit screen time, especially before bed. And that's really something the whole family can benefit from. I've noticed it for even in myself. I've started enjoying reading some novels, which I only allow myself to do at bedtime. So I have a novel at my bedside, my nightstand. And so at night, instead of scrolling, now I confess I'll look at my phone really quick, do a couple of things that I need to do on social media, but I limit it just a couple of minutes. And then I am on or in my novel. And I'll read sometimes for a half an hour. Sometimes if it's a really good novel, I'll read for an hour. And now if I read or if I just read like a nonfiction book or a book that I want to underline and highlight, those kinds of books, I tend to fall asleep, but not as sleep as soundly as for some reason I can get lost in a novel, and I sleep so much better after having spent some time reading as opposed to scrolling, because there's something about that the dopamine and the blue light and all of that stuff with electronics, not good for our brains and our body. So experiment with it yourself, right? Instead of scrolling a screen, cut yourself off earlier in the evening and get lost in a book. You will sleep so much better. It doesn't matter what kind of book it is. I'm just saying a nonfiction book. I tend to um, I'll fall asleep kind of sometimes reading a book like that if it's not drawn me in. I do better if I can be lost in a novel and it's a page turner, and I'm just reading for a longer period of time. I find I sleep better. So give that a try as well. So just making sure that just don't fall asleep on a screen. Don't have a screen be the last thing that you see, because that will interrupt your sleep. And the same thing for your kiddos. If your kiddos are on screens before bed, they're going to have a hard time settling down and falling to sleep, and they're going to have a hard time actually sleeping well. So that would be something really for the whole family. And again, screen time can actually exacerbate the symptoms of FASD and trauma. It's not a good fit for any of us. So take advantage of the summer months, and allow yourself more time outside, more time moving and exercising and fresh air and reading, and less time on screens, and we will all do better. Um, and it can be hard to get cooperation around this. Our kids don't like to be told they can't be on a screen. One tactic, like I said, I implemented where they had to earn, my kiddo has to earn screen time. That's a good way to kind of do that. But we have to be disciplined. We have to really stick with it, and give reminders. So if they do get a screen for 30 minutes, you're going to have to give them periodic reminders as to how much time is left on the screen, because you will get some pushback when it's time to actually hand the screen over, but letting them know that some more activities, they might be able to actually earn a little more time on it. But again, cut it off by a certain time, screens, so that they're not on them right before bed. We want to have fun with our kids. And if they're in front of a screen, and if we're in front of a screen, there's not a lot of together fun happening. So those are just some of my thoughts. Again, not a one size fits all plan, but to have a plan going into the summer, you'll have a more successful time enjoying summer, enjoying your kids. But without a plan, you'll be scrambling. With a plan, with some structure, with a schedule, a routine, we'll do better, but we will also fall off of it. That's just the way it is, right? But it's okay. Just get back to it. It can help, I believe, just really bring some peace to our days, especially through the summer. So try some of this with your family, and keep what's working for you. Be creative. You'll come up with things that I didn't think of. None of this is rocket science, but it's tried and true things that have helped me survive over the years, with our kids. I know we've always had a swimming pool, and when we had all of our kids home, because I have 8 kids, when everybody was home before kids started graduating and going to college or getting married or whatever what we're doing, when everybody was home, that we got our chores and everything done by a certain time, and then we would go to the pool. Especially if it was a really hot day, we would spend the day at the pool, and I was out there with the kids. Sometimes I was sitting under the umbrella and reading a book or whatever, but reading a magazine or planning the upcoming school year, whatever it would be. Being together made a huge difference. But the kids in the pool and the physical activity, and of course, if they're swimming a lot, you need extra snacks and extra water to give them. But those kinds of things made summer fun and memorable. And even though we were just enjoying a summertime activity, it was still a structured time for us to be out there. We made it a routine when we went out, how long we stayed out. We would have lunch out there. I would bring lunch out at a certain time. You can still build structure into the days, and letting kids know ahead of time. Anytime it's like, okay, we're going to be going in, or we have to go to the store, or whatever it is, giving them that heads up ahead of time lets them know something's coming. But try to keep things as routine as possible for our kids. Your schedule will be vastly different from mine. And also, do not, please, 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 do not compare yourself. We should never compare ourselves to other families. Don't compare yourself to what my family's doing or even another adoptive family, but especially to families that do not have children who have come from adversity, children who've been in foster care or kinship or through adoption. We should never compare ourselves to those families because there's no way to compare, right? Unless you are a foster or adoptive parent, you don't understand what how hard it can be and what our kids have been through. And we don't want to ever compare to anybody else. While our kids have some things in common with each other, if we're adoptive and foster families, they're still unique and they've all experienced different things along the way. And we need to really create a custom plan that fits our family. And if we're saying no to things like, we're not going to do VBS this year, or only some of the kids are going to do VBS, or, we're not going to go to that family reunion with 200 people at it or whatever, or we're going to go, but we're only going to stay for an hour, those kinds of things. Or we've had things where my husband or I will go to an activity and the other will stay home with our son who does not do well with large crowds, with lots of kids and lots of running around. I've been at picnics with our kiddo, and we're talking, 15, 16, 18 years old, and there'll be times throughout a social event where he'll need to be in the car for just 10 minutes of some music and like no other people or children running around because he can't take the chaos. So I'm okay. I park where I can see the car. He is trustworthy. If I leave the keys in the car, he'll turn on the music and the air conditioning because if it's hot in the summertime, and he knows the 10 minutes, and then he can come back and resume being with other people. The longer I stay at a place, an event like that, the more often he will need to visit the car, or we will leave earlier. And it's just the way it is because he has a lot of challenges socially. He gets easily overstimulated. He can't take all of the noise and all of the people talking and all of the chaos. He becomes very dysregulated and doesn't feel safe and has a lot of anxiety. So we either go for a shorter period of time or he's allowed breaks where he can go sit in the car and have that quiet. So whatever works for your kids. Now, again, my kid is 18, 19, and I know he's trustworthy and we have a system down. You may have kiddos who you could never trust with a set of car keys and to go sit in the car, right? You have to come up with a plan that works best with your child while keeping everybody safe, but not just physically safe, emotionally safe, where they know that they can be safe and they have a place where they can go where they're not feeling anxious, right? And if it's going to be too much for them, don't make them go, right? We have to make sure that we're meeting their particular needs. And when we do, things will go much better all the way around. We want to have a plan. We need to have a vision, right? To avoid chaos. That's what we need to do. And we need to make sure that we're taking into consideration that our kids who've experienced adversity need structure. In fact, my kiddo, I remember after years of homeschooling, when the boys were finally in school, we had never been on that routine or that rhythm of the school year where, there's the Christmas break, they get the week off, and then there's a week off in at least the schools in upstate New York, there's a week off in February, and then there's the week off around Easter time. our family had never been in that rhythm where we go on vacations during those weeks, because we just homeschooled through those times because we could take other days off. Like a lot of times we would take Fridays off of school when we used to homeschool everybody. But all of a sudden, when they were in school, it was like, oh, right. So I saw it as, yay, I don't have to get everybody up and out the door and do the lunch thing. Like it was, to me, it was a break from that craziness. Whereas the one day my son came to me and said, I like it better when I'm in school because I know what to do. And for him, having the structure of school was a benefit. Being home for a week without the structure was stressful. So that right there showed me, aha, if we're going to be home for a week, there has to be a plan. There has to be structure, right? I was thrilled to not have it, but he needed it. So keep that in mind. Our kids actually feel safer when there's structure. And however we can put it, build it into their days, that's what we need to do. So summer freedom is fabulous, but it may be triggering for our kids. It may be hard for our kids. So think of ways and be creative to build some structure into your days. And it really could lead to the peace that we crave, and our kids crave it too. So, just some thoughts on some summer survival tips, and I hope they help you. I'm grateful that you took the time to listen today. I would love to hear from you. So, if you have some things for summer that I haven't thought of, or if you have some questions about just something else that you would like me to share about, or a guest you would love for me to have on, or it's just a topic you would like for me to tackle, this is your show. This is the Adoption and Foster Care Journey is a podcast for you. I want it to provide for you what you come to listen to it for, right? Whatever you need. So let me know what you want me to be talking about. Let me know what things you would have me to tackle. Email me. My email address is in the show notes if you scroll down, but it's super simple. It's Sandra Flach at justicefororphansny.org. It's long, but you can click on it in the show notes and you'll see it there. Shoot me an email. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this podcast has been helpful to you, and anything that you would like to have me talk about in the future, really want to make sure that we are providing exactly what you need, because I want this to be a resource for you on your parenting journey. So please be sure to do that. And also, we have lots of other resources in addition to this podcast. And you heard the little commercial about our support group, Hope for the FASD Journey community. If you have kids who were prenatally exposed to alcohol or other substances, whether or not there's a diagnosis, right? If you feel like you need that support group, please feel free to join the support group. Let me know about that if you're interested in that. We do have some scholarships available because it is a subscription-based group, because you get a lot out of it. We offer a lot to our families. So check that out if you think that is something that would be helpful to you, and as well as the training that we offer. Every month, I offer a free 1-hour introduction to FASD. It's an online workshop. It is live. It's interactive. It's not a recording. It's actually me on there, and you can interact, ask questions. I'll answer them. But I really go over the impact of alcohol exposure in utero, the symptoms, and really how to take a brain-based approach to parenting. You actually walk away from that 1 hour with some tools to start helping you help your kids. And in addition to the free 1 hour intro, I offer other certain length training. So the 3 hour training where you get more of a deeper look into FASD, spend some more time unpacking it. I use a neurobehavioral approach, so that we focus on what's going on with the brain, and what are some things that we could do to help our kiddos who are struggling in those areas. So, and then much more. And I also travel and speak. I have some upcoming speaking opportunities. I'm going to be in Ohio at the beginning of September, speaking to a group of foster and adoptive families there. I'll be at the Christian Alliance for Orphans Summit in Houston at the beginning of October. and I'll be doing a workshop there. And I will be at Replanted later in October, where I will also be doing a workshop, and I'll be having information tables at both events. So if you ever get to CAFO, it's Houston. I believe it's October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I don't have the dates for Replanted off the top of my head, but it's just a couple of weeks later, and that is in Chicago. I'll be speaking at both of those events, and I'll also be having an information table. So it's great opportunities for you to come and connect with me. And I'll also be at, there's another one that I will be, Jamie Finn's in I believe February in Pennsylvania. So lots of opportunities, and I'll also be this February. I'm coming to the Birmingham, Alabama area to speak with some foster and adoptive parents there and do a training on FASD. So I travel, I come in person, I do scheduled ones online. If you're looking for something for your families and you want to do a virtual online training, I do that as well. So I'm available. If you want to schedule something, you would just reach out to me, and you can, any of the scheduled trainings that are going on, you can find out more and sign up for them on our website, justicefororphansny.org. But if you want to reach out to schedule something specific for you, your family, or your group, maybe you're looking for some coaching, reach out to me at my email address, sandraflack@justicefororphansny.org. And I'm available. I will work with you because my heart and passion is to encourage and equip and support foster and adoptive families. Trying to blog more regularly on my website, sandraflack.com. It sounds like I'm sending you to an awful lot of places, and we are working really hard in the next several months to be able to sort of bring everything under one umbrella, one location to find everything, and make it so that wherever you go, you'll find all of our resources. But I do have a blog, and I'm starting to send out a monthly newsletter, and you can learn more about that at sandraflack.com. So reach out, you'll find me somewhere. And also don't forget to subscribe or follow this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Let your fostering and adopting friends know about it as well. If you like to watch podcasts and actually see what I look like, we do have a YouTube channel, but it's at Justice for Orphans. And all of the podcasts, the video version, posted on the Justice for Orphans YouTube channel, so you can watch if you wanted to watch. And again, like us, follow us, leave a review, all of that great stuff. Find us on social media at the Adoption and Foster Care Journey. That's on Facebook, at AFC_journey on Instagram. I love to stay connected with you, and I am grateful that you spent your valuable time with me today. I hope you were encouraged. I hope you found it helpful, because I'm thrilled to have you along for the journey.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Adoption and Foster Care Journey podcast, brought to you by Justice for Orphans. We hope you were encouraged today. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review, and share it with your fellow foster and adoptive parent friends so they can be encouraged too. Be sure to find and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Justice for Orphans. And check out our website for vital resources at justicefororphansny.org.